What are tenders? So in some previous videos, I mentioned the three main kinds of days on cruise ships: embarkation day, sea days, and port days. But there's kind of a fourth day, and it's kind of a hybrid between a sea day and a port day. And basically what it is, it's a port day, but there's no dock, right? So, for instance, one of the ports that we would visit was Belize. And Belize has a coral reef around, closer to the shore, right? And the cruise ships can't come in to Belize because they'll hit the reef, right? So what the ship has to do is stay out in the ocean, away from the reef, and then we take smaller boats from the cruise ship, kind of like water taxis, into the port. These water taxis are referred to as tenders, okay? So it's kind of a sea day, but kind of a port day. You see how it's kind of like a fourth little thing. And the thing about the tender ports as a crew member is they're not quite, in my opinion, they're not quite as fun because it's a hassle. And it's a hassle for the passengers too. When the ship can just pull up to a dock and open the door and put the bridge and then and just get out and go right into the port, that's great. When you have to use little water taxis, little tenders to get from the ship to shore, it's as organized as it can be, but it's still it feels a little chaotic, right? Because the tenders can only hold X amount of passengers. So they have multiple tenders, but it's one at a time, out of one door. And then you got people who might need extra assistance, and it's kind of weird walking off of a cruise ship in the middle of the ocean, walking down, and you're floating. There's stuff moving, and there's the waves, and you're getting into another boat. You know what I mean? So it's a hassle. And so what they'll do on tender days is if you sign up early, you can get like a tender ticket, and they do it based on your first tender ticket, letter A. Everyone with a letter A ticket can come get on the tenders first. And then after that's done, they say, all right, letter B tickets, whatever, right? So there's some organization, and they say, don't come down to the gangway where the tender boats are unless it's your ticket called, because you're just going to clog up the line and it's just going to be even more stressful. And then as a crew member on tender ports, those crew members who have the day off or whatever, who can get off the ship that day, we can't get on the tender boats to go to land until all the passengers that want to leave the first couple hours have gotten off the ship. I mean, obviously, guests first, they're paying, right? We're not. So we have to wait a couple hours until it's our turn, So we're already kind of missing we have to wait to get off the ship. So we're already losing time if we have the morning off. And then on the other side, on the port side, if there's a whole group of crew members trying to get on a tender to come back to the ship, if there's a whole big group of passengers, the crew members are going to have to step aside and let the passengers go. So if you're running kind of late back to the ship before your curfew or whatever, or before you need to be back on the ship to start work, but they keep telling you to wait because there's more passengers and they can't accommodate you, they don't care. It's passengers first, and so then you're just going to get in trouble for being late. So you have to think about that, and you say, okay, well, I can't stay until the last minute in Belize. I need to come back an hour early just in case, blah, blah, blah. So then your time has gone from this to this, And honestly, to tell you the truth, on one of my itineraries where we had a port or a day where we had to use tenders for one of the ports every week, I did it once, and then I said, oh, here's Belize, and I hung out, and then I just kind of didn't do it again. It was a hassle, you know what I mean? It was just I don't want to have to worry about it. I don't have to wait for the guests. I don't want to have to deal with it. And then I don't want to be stuck there and then not be able to come back and all these things. And it's just like, and then sometimes some of the passengers complain because it's kind of not super good. It's good. Like they've planned it out, but there's thousands of people. You got a taxi back and forth in the middle of the ocean. I mean, good. Oh my God. So there's going to be some people complaining, and you're just like, I just don't want to deal with it. So later in those cruises, in those itineraries, I just kind of slept in and kicked it on the ship, man. If somebody particularly was like, hey, we were going to do this, you want to go? Yeah, I'd go. But if I don't have anything planned, I don't really care. I suggest you get off at all the ports you can. Because maybe that's just me, or maybe if it was a super awesome port, Belize was fine, but like nothing spectacular, in my opinion. But if it's like a super awesome place, where there's something incredible that you want to do, yeah, absolutely go. Go when you can. But, I didn't care. I slept in. I drank some coffee. I enjoyed that there were no passengers on the ship. I kind of just kicked it. I hung out, watched a movie, enjoyed the downtime. You know what I mean? I got kind of used to the ship life. So, like, I didn't feel the need to get off the ship at every moment. But maybe that's because I didn't necessarily work as much as other people. Or I didn't feel like I did because a lot of my scheduling was I just did on my own. Whatever I needed to do, I just did it. Whereas if I worked in the galleys and said, all right, you're working from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. in the galley, just nonstop, yeah. In that one little space cooking for 12 hours a day, yeah, the next day, you bet I'm probably going to want to get off the ship. But in my department, entertainment, I had more luxury to walk around in public areas, and I had more times for breaks and stuff like this. I was very, very happy with my position and the perks that I got with that position. So I didn't feel the need. I could go out on the pool deck and get fresh air if I wanted to. Not a big deal. So I didn't feel as trapped as maybe some people did. You know what I mean? So getting off the ship was not imperative to me at every possible moment. But depending on your position, I'm not going to say don't ever get off the ship. Do it. You need to explore the places. You need to get off the ship. You need to get some fresh air. You need to go out and find fun stuff to do. You need to enjoy the travel aspect of working on a cruise ship because that's one of the big bonuses of getting that job. But you don't have to if you don't want to. You know what I mean? But yeah, the tender boats, they're fine. But they're also smaller, right? So there's more movement on the tender boats. So maybe you didn't get seasick on the big ship because it doesn't move as much, but maybe on the little boats, maybe you might feel a little nauseous. And then if you're feeling nauseous from getting on a tender boat and coming back because you got to work that night, maybe you need to, you think about that, right? So get off on the tender ports, explore them. But if tender's not your thing, don't worry about it. Not a big deal. They are kind of a hassle. And sometimes for me, I was just like, you know what? Let the passengers deal with it. And I'm just going to kick it on the ship and enjoy the ship without passengers on it for a while. And then that evening when everybody comes back, you hit the ground running with your work. So embarkation day, sea day, port day, tender port day, debark, which is the same day as embarkation. And that's a cruise. So every day is a little bit different. So it might take you a couple of cruises to get used to what's going on. But it's fun. So go check out Belize, but maybe not every single time you go.